Hi everybody, welcome to my latest video. Thank you for joining me. Everybody's welcome here on my channel. First of all, just before we start this video, I'm going to say a very big thank you, and that is to everybody that is subscribing to the channel. You're doing me absolutely amazing at the minute. We're only doing one Beatle Dave's Twist and Shout Outs today, which has been suggested to me by Terry Man, so I'll get that over and done with now. And it is today's Twist and Shout Out is really simple, and I don't want it to sound political or anything like that, because I'm not into politics. It is just, you know, let's all pray for our brothers and sisters that are in places in the world that are at conflict. Whatever your views on these wars is, let's just pray that they are over as soon as they can be. So that is the twist and shout for today. A bit of a sombre one, I know. But like I say, it has been suggested by one of my subscribers, Terry Man. So that today's twist and shout out goes to everybody that is in a war-torn or conflicted country. So we're all praying for you. Right, today we're going to do something a little bit different. I was going to say special. It depends whether you like these albums or not, whether you think they're special or not. As a Beatles fan, a John Lennon fan, the solo Beatles fan, a record collector, I went through a stage of, when I was rebuilding my collection up after the early 2000s, I wanted to try and get every single Beatles or Beatles related album that featured the Beatles on it. So that does include things like George Harrison's Electronic Sounds album, and these two Virgins, Life with the Lions. I've got to be careful with this one, because this is a UK original wedding album box set. Now these are John's experimental LPs, John and Yoko's experimental LPs. I have got a little bit of notes, so I will just give you a little bit of background. If you are familiar with my channel and you've been watching me from the start, which I know some of you have, the first few actual videos that I ever did were on these three albums, and the first ever one I did on the White Album box set, the Wedding album box set, was the first one that I actually did facing the camera. Before that, I'd always been behind the camera. So Two Virgins, or Unreleased Music Number 1, was released in the UK on the 11th of November 1968, and in the USA it was released on the 29th of November 1968. Looking at some of the information, it says it's recorded on 2 different days, but I don't think it is. I think it was recorded on one of them or the other. It says it was recorded between the 3rd and 4th of May 1968 and or the 19th to the 20th of May 1968. In the UK, this album did not chart, didn't get anywhere in the charts whatsoever. In America, it actually got to the heights of 124 in the US album charts. Do we need that one? We will go into that in a minute. The second one, Life with the Lions, or Unfinished Music Number 2, was released on the 9th of May 1969 in the UK and the 26th of May 1969 in the USA. Again, in the UK it did not chart, not a sausage, nothing. But it reached 174 in the USA chart, so not quite as good as Two Virgins, which is a bit strange. Then we come to the last of the experimental John and Yoko albums, the Wedding album. This is an album I've always wanted since the early 80s. I've got a few copies of it now. I've got 2 of the Japanese versions from the mid-70s. I've got my original UK box set, which I got about this time last year, to be honest. And I've got the 2 reissues from 2019. Now this box set was released on the 7th of November 1969 in the UK, and it was released in the USA on the 20th of October 1969. Again, in the UK, nowhere, didn't chart in any chart whatsoever. However, in America, it did actually chart, which surprised me. It got to number 178 in the US chart. So out the three, Two Virgins was probably the most popular one. Or was that the one that they all went out and bought, and then after they bought that, thought, oh no, it's a load of rubbish sort of thing. Now, I must say, I've always enjoyed these albums. They are not everybody's cup of tea, don't get me wrong. You will either love them or you won't love them, and you'll either want them in your collection or you won't. I am quite lucky because I've got a couple of originals and I've got some of the reissues and things like that. As a record collector and a completist, I do think they need to be in my collection. Other Beatles fans might disagree with this because they'll say, well, it's just John and Yoko basically messing about, which to a certain extent it is, but they're classed as experimental albums. And if you think about it, every album the Beatles ever released, they were experimenting on it in one form or another, all the way up to when they split up, didn't they? So I'll go through a little bit of background information on each of the albums. So I will apologise, but I will try and make this as quick as I can. So the first one was, this is actually an original UK version of this, and it is, so if you don't want to see any nudity or anything, turn away now and then come back in 5 minutes, yeah? Because this is the original cover without the brown paper bag of Two Virgins, and it is that John and Yoko as naked as the day they were born, sort of. And this is a weird pressing. Oh, just excuse me one sec. Because it is a original 1968 Apple record, and it was distributed by Track Records in the UK and had nothing to do with EMI whatsoever. So this is in a flip back sleeve, and I've never ever seen another UK one of these in a flip back sleeve. Now, I've took this to a few so-called Beatles experts, and most of them do agree this is an original sleeve, but they don't know why it is a flip back when all the rest aren't. I have had one person that says this is possibly a later sleeve that's been given to the record, which I find that a bit hard that somebody will go to the bother of actually making a new sleeve for this, because there's nothing apart from John and Yoko being naked, there's nothing really worth having it for. You might as well just put it in a paper bag like Brian Epstein wanted to do with Sgt. Pepper's. It has got the Made in Merry England and Apple Records May 1968 and all that lot, and it does have when two great saints meet, it is a humbling experience, a long battles to prove he was a saint, and that was from Paul McCartney. Now, I thought that was only ever on the back of these, but it's actually on the front as well. Nothing on the spine whatsoever. Like I say, this is an original UK copy, which I think is a stereo. Although why you'd want this in stereo, I don't know. Just bear with 1 sec. Yeah, Sapcore. So it is actually Sapcore 2. Although the track number, because remember this was distributed by Track, is 613012. Made in the UK. So the labels are actually really nice and clean. And that's side B. Now, UK originals of this, believe it or not, are actually very rare nowadays because it didn't chart, so there wasn't that many sold. I think there was more of these sold in America than there was in the UK. And I think at the time, who was it? The chap that actually owned EMI Records didn't want anything to do with this, hence why it was distributed by Track Records and not EMI. Is it worth having in your collection? If you're an average, or if you're a casual Beatles fan, definitely not. If you're a Beatles fan but you're not into everything that John and Yoko did, or not into everything that the Beatles as soloists did, probably not. If you're completist like me, then yeah, you have got to have a copy of this, whether it is an original like this one or the reissue, which is this one, which came out 2018, I think, and this is slightly different. You will have to excuse me because I've still got a little cough and a cold, as you can probably hear. It's interesting from one point of view, Two Virgins, how John and Yoko got away with it in one way, especially in that time, because there was like a lot of like public decency acts and things like that, and there's things about nudity and everything else. So this later one does come in the sleeve, but it's a cutout, so which is a bit strange. May 1968, made in Merry England. You get at the back. You do get the quote from Paul McCartney on the front. So, like I say, on that other one, it's on both sides, isn't it? I mean, it's not a very flattering photo, is it really? Was it Lou Grade? No, it wasn't Lou Grade, was it? Can't remember the chap. The chairman of EMI at the time says he would have rather had Paul McCartney stood on there naked than John Lennon. And this is on grapefruit. I think this is supposed to be a grapefruit. I thought it was an orange, but somebody told me it's actually grapefruit. So taking the mickey out of an apple. So this is a reissue. Is it essential? No, it's not essential. Is there any proper music on it? No. Is it worth the money? Well, this is the interesting thing, isn't it? Because, like I've just said to you, original UK pressings of this record on Apple are actually quite hard to come by now. And you will be talking the best part of at least £100, £150 for battered in copy. Mono copies of Two Virgins are mythical. They do exist, but they come about once every 20 odd years. But with this reissue, you do get some little goodies. Unfinished Music #1, Two Virgins, John Lennon and Yoko. See, that said John Lennon and Yoko Ono on that, but on the originals it just said John and Yoko. A hole to see the sky through. That's what that says there. So it's supposed to go like that and look at the sky, aren't you? Makes sense? Not really, does it? Then we get a poster with this one. Don't worry, they've got clothes on this one, thank God. See, I would have thought, in one way, they could have done that as the cover, because it is roughly the same sort of time period by the looks of that, isn't it? And still called it Two Virgins. Was there any need for them to be naked? I don't think there was there? Good publicity stunt, yes, don't get me wrong. Then you get this little booklet, Two Virgins. This says Yoko Ono and John Lennon on this. It's not John Lennon. It's not John and Yoko, or not even John Lennon and Yoko Ono. It's Yoko Ono and John Lennon. But it wasn't, was it? Or was it? You might know different. I've always known it's just been John and Yoko. So there's some photos in here of when they was early in their relationship. Let's just put it like that. Of course, the famous quote came, didn't it? From, I think it was around 1960, late 64, early 1965 in America. I think some sort of record executive said, well, you could release a record of the Beatles munching a bag of crisps and it gets #1. So I think John remembered that and thought, let's release an album with no music on it. And to a certain extent it did work. I still think John was very clever in one way by doing this, because everybody told him not to do it. Even his record company told him not to do it. Even Paul McCartney told him not to do it. So what did John do? He just thought, sod it, I'll do it. Now, can you blame the bloke for doing that? I don't think you can. And I do think that when this LP originally came out in 1968, I don't think it was actually this same price as a ordinary LP. I think it was slightly cheaper. So it's not like he was trying to rip anybody off or anything. I just think he did it as a piss take. To be honest, I do honestly think that's what he did that for. A Mickey take, a P take, whatever you want to call it. Just to see if he could get away with it. And he did. So like I say, if you want these records, why you would, because you're not enough to like me, I don't know. But I would, if you want to know what they sound like, I would go for these reissues from a few years ago, because you can get all of these on reissue. And the sound quality ain't going to be very much different to the original ones from 1968 or 1969. In fact, if anything, the sound quality will be slightly better. That is if you actually play them. Two Virgins, I've had the original UK one for about 4 years. I think I've played it 3 times. This one I've played once. So yeah. But having said that, I think that was about £17, this reissue. I think my original one was around the £40 mark. So I've still done okay, to be honest. I haven't like wasted loads and loads of money on it. That's what I'm trying to say to you folks. You know, if you want these records just for the curio factor, shall we say, get the reissues. If you've got the money and you want the originals, by all means, you go out and buy the originals. They are okay-ish if you sort of like remember what they are. I did a video for Beatley Tone's Beatles channel where you had to put your favourite Beatles solo albums and then your least favourite, and my least favourite was George Harrison's Electronic Sounds. Now you might say, well, why do you like these and you don't like that? Because these are experimental albums, and I think John did these with a sense of humour in his head. Whether it comes across like that, I don't know. Where George, apart from the cover on Electronic Sounds, there's no humour in it whatsoever. Again, you've got to admire George for bringing it out when he did, sort of thing, I suppose. But to me, if you want to, by all means, get the whole lot. You know, get all these 3 and get that if that's what rocks your boat. I'm just telling you my experience of them and what I think. Yes, I was lucky to get the original Two Virgins, and I'm glad I've got it. I'm glad I've got the reissue as well. The next one is Life with the Lions, or Unfinished Music number 2. Again, didn't chart in the UK. This actually, although it's on Zapple and not Apple, Zapple was a short-lived like offshoot of Apple Records. This is an American copy. No comment, George Martin. What a brilliant comment. No comment. Unfinished Music number 2, Life with the Lions, John Lennon, Yoko Ono, it says on this one. Apple Records, made in Merry England, November 68. So I presume this was distributed by Capitol in America. I think it was anyway. Yeah, because it's got a capital number, because it's ST3357 for side 2 and ST3367, sorry, for side 1. So that's 67, isn't it? Yeah, 672. Again, these are nice to have in your collection just because they're on Zapple. And I think the only 2 albums that were ever on Zapple was this and the aforementioned George Harrison Electronic Sounds. And they are both, if you want the original UK copies of these, very, very, very expensive. Again, I I paid something like 20 something pound for this. And to be honest, I've only ever played this once. I can't remember which side it was. One side is better than the other. I think side one is mainly Yoko, and she's just screaming and shouting and things like that. And my dog Bailey absolutely went mental when I put this on, so I've never played it again. But then again, you might like it, you know. I'm not saying this to put you off. And then this is the reissue. Again, you can probably pick this up for around the £17–20 mark. You do get a poster with this as well, which is War Is Over If You Want It, I think. Remember rightly. Hence the start to the video, by the way, to tie in with this. War is over if you wanted it. If enough people didn't want war, there won't be a war. And I'm not trying to be political or smart or anything when I say that, you know. It's not normal people that make wars, is it? It's the politicians or the leaders. And then they send all the people off to war and they stay at home in the bunkers, don't they? And things like that. Again, this is on the grapefruit label instead of apple. This reissue. And I will be honest, I don't think I've ever played this one. Mainly because I didn't want to upset my dog again. But there you do get all the credits and everything for the album. I would say this one hasn't got as much humour as such as Two Virgins. The best thing about this, actually, I think, is that back cover. I think that should have been the front cover. I think that should have been the front cover, and that should have been the back cover. Again, you get this Unfinished Music #2. A Hold to See the Sky Through. Why? I don't know. Nice thick cardboard sleeve, and again you do get a little sort of like booklet thing with some photos. I mean, look at that's a nice one, John and Yoko, isn't it? I mean, his hairpiece. He was serious about it, wasn't he? You know, but he still did that with humour. You know, we're getting married. All the world's press are coming to want to see you in bed. Okay, then we'll talk about peace. Give peace a chance. Which is where that song was actually recorded, wasn't it? When they was doing the Bedding for Peace. So these the issues probably are slightly more value for your money, shall we say, because you do get extra things in them. Still no proper songs as such, which you've got to remember. If you're expecting to hear John composing things, and there is sort of like snippets of songs in places, but it's nothing really that interesting, to be honest. But as a completist, like I say, I'm glad I've got them. If you're not interested in them, that is entirely up to you. We are all individuals and we all like different things. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say I like this. I can tolerate it, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was one of my favourite John and Yoko albums. If anything, this is probably the one. I don't want to say hate, but it comes close to that. Absolutely rubbish. To be honest, it's absolutely rubbish. Like I say, the most interesting thing is the Zapple label. So if you want to be a completist for your Apple, then you've got to have your Zapple. So you've got to get the two Zapple label LPs, which was this and Electronic Sounds. But go for the reissues, folks. Save your money. Save your money. Then we've got this one. This is the one that I like the best out the lot of them, to be honest. This is John and Yoko's wedding album, and I actually bought this one last year just before we got married as a wedding present to myself. I'm not going to get this out because it is very, very fragile. Everything is in there. UK copies of this usually go for the between £300 and £500 minimum, sometimes more. Very, very elaborate box, which we'll go into with the reissue, because the reissue, the contents are exactly the same as that. So we'll use this one, which is from 2019. The Japanese ones are also good ones to get if you can find one. I have actually got a sealed copy of this. So you get lots and lots of goodies with this. You really do get lots and lots of goodies. You get value for money with this one, you really do. It's in a nice sturdy box. You've got a copy of John and Yoko's marriage certificate. It's not a real one, it's a copy. Which on my UK one, for some reason, is upside down. Then you get... Are you ready for this, folks? You're going to love this. You really are going to love this. Save that to the end. Take that out there, put that in there. So we get all these goodies here. So you get a booklet called The Wedding, which I think folds out to be a massive poster. I'm sorry if you're not going to see all this, but it is a two-sided poster. So you get that, The Wedding. Even though I've done it the wrong way around now, haven't I? Silly Beetle Dave. That's it. Like that. Reminiscent of the White Album poster in one way. So I'm saying, you know, they made that. They made the elaborate box. Then you get this one, which is again a poster, and it's John's excuse me, drawings or doodles. Then you get this, the press. Again, very, very elaborate book with all photo clippings and everything from the wedding, the honeymoon. So to do this like that. Again, and that is a really, really sturdy book. That is better than the original Get Back book in the Let It Be box set. The original Let It Be box set. So I'm saying that this must have cost loads and loads and loads to make. You get the Baggism bag. Now the only difference between this and the one that's in the original UK box set is the one in the UK box set is thicker plastic than this. It's more like a PVC, where this is just like a plastic bag that you used to get from like your local shopping arcade or whatever. Then you get John Lennon and Yoko Ono passport photos. On the American version, you actually get the catalogue number stamped on them. Then you get a John and Yoko Bedding for Peace postcard. So you're getting all these goodies, aren't you? Really, really elaborate box set. Then you get a photo of a piece of wedding cake. I don't like wedding cake. So that's all the goodies. And now we come to the main attraction, don't we? Or is it? Or is this the anticlimax? I'd say it's the anticlimax in one way. This is the actual wedding album. John and Yoko. Wedding album. Sanctuary Canada, it says on there. That's who made these reissues of Sanctuary. So a nice picture of John and Yoko having a little kiss. Again, bedding for peace. Opens up and it is a gatefold. Like that. Now on the original UK version, the record actually comes out of here. And on this reissue, it comes out here. And this is on white vinyl. The wedding album on white vinyl, which is actually quite nice, isn't it? I've played this. Sounds absolutely amazing. Really does, folks. Really sounds absolutely amazing. Well, it does sort of. To be fair, it sort of does sound amazing. Again, you've got a lovely elaborate box set there. Lots and lots of goodies in it, and you get hardly, well, you don't really get any music in it whatsoever. Now, be very careful if you're going on certain internet selling sites. These reissues from 2019 usually go for around the £30 to £35 mark, which isn't bad, is it, when you think about it. That's for a brand new one, sealed. You can get it on white vinyl, you can get it on black vinyl, and you can actually get it on clear vinyl as well. And they're all usually around the £30 £35 mark. But having said that, there is certain sellers on certain internet selling sites, and we all know which sites we're on about. But it's not just eBay, to be honest. Who will say these are limited editions, and to be fair, technically I think these were limited. I don't think there was millions. There was thousands pressed, but I don't think there was millions pressed. So in one way they are limited editions, but would you pay £300 for that? Because I wouldn't. I wouldn't even pay £300 for the original UK one, let alone a reissue. So in one way, if you're only ever going to buy one of these, although why would you just buy one and not all of them, or why would you buy one or none of them? That is probably the one that is probably the easiest to get, but just be careful where you're getting it from. I've always loved this box set. I can remember going in a shop around 1980, just after John had died actually, and it was a second-hand record shop in Nottingham, and they had an original UK box set. And I just says, what is it? And they goes, it's John and Yoko's wedding album. And they goes, well, what's on it then? What sort of songs on it? Oh, no songs. But then he says you can have a look at it if you want. And I was fascinated with everything that was in it. And I'm thinking, I thought the bloke was taking the mickey. You know, probably thought, oh yeah, young lad here, don't know anything about the Beatles, which to be fair at the time I didn't. So I just says, oh, is there any hits on it or anything like that? Like any well-known songs? He goes, no. I says, but there's a record in it, and he goes, oh yeah, there's an LP in it. He says, well, what's on it? He goes, I don't know, I've never played it. And that was the bloke that was selling it. And I think at the time that was something like 400 and something pounds. Like I say, the original UK box set, I mean the box isn't in brilliant condition. I must admit, the box isn't in brilliant condition. The LP looks like it's never been played, and it probably has never been played. But I know it's been played once because I played it. I did play this one. And just put that back up there. In all fairness, that is the one out of these three experimental albums that I do play the most. Again, I think it was John having a little bit of fun. Not necessarily with the fans or with EMI or Apple, But I think he was taking the mickey out of the press more with that one than anything else. You know, you want to follow us on our honeymoon because you think you're going to catch us in bed doing something. So yeah, we'll play along with it. Yeah, we'll have an interview and we'll be in pyjamas. And while you're here, grow your hair for peace and things like that, you know. Like I say, it was. You've got to remember, this was before. I would say it's before John got political, but I think it always been a little bit political, but I think that was more fun. Still meant through the heart and everything, don't get me wrong. So, do you need any of them in your collection? It's entirely up to you. I know certain Beatles fans who, some of them have even got channels, who would not listen to them for all the tea in China. And in some cases, I do understand it. Like, why would you pay over £100 for LP that you're never ever going to listen to? Which you can understand that. But if you're getting something like this, which is a reissue, and it's costing you about £20 or £30, I would say that is worth that just for the curio aspect of it. I think the American one, I think that one you can still get pretty easily. Well, say pretty easily. It's the original American version of this album is a lot easier to get than the UK version. I've seen one UK version in the wild in 40 odd years, and that was going for something like £150 odd, and I would be saying that was the mid 80s. I can't justify spending that on a record. I really cannot. I think that one was about £25 if I remember rightly, and then that one was around the same price, to be honest. That's worth getting because you get the post and everything with it. That's worth getting whether it's the UK or the American version because it's on Zapple, and like I said, there was only ever 2 LPs released on Zapple. 2 virgins. Do you need 2 virgins? Nobody needs 2 virgins. In all honesty, nobody needs any of those albums. That's me being honest with you. If you want them, go out and buy them. That's all I'll say. I've got them. Do I play them? Sometimes. Do I play all of them? No, I don't. I'll be honest with you. As I've said, I've played the Wedding album more than any of those. The one I've played the least is Laugh with the Lines, although there is a reason for that because it sends my dog absolutely crazy when I play it. 2 Virgins is okay-ish. You can listen to it, put it like that, you can listen to it, but all of these, you won't play it and then think, oh, I'll just play that again because see if it grows on me. It won't grow on you. The first listen to how you listen to these, or the first time you ever play these, is how those LPs will stay. They don't get any better. But in the case of the Wedding album, the thing in that's favour is, oh, excuse me, I've got the sniffles, is that you get some goodies with that. And like I say, you can pick the reissue box sets up for around the £40–50 mark. The Japanese reissues from the 70s usually are a little bit more. They're usually around the £70–80 mark, sometimes up to £100. And the UK originals are virtually, you can't get them. And if you do, you will be paying a premium. I mean, I saw one the other day on a certain selling site. It wasn't eBay, and it said the Wedding album box set, and it didn't even have the box, and it didn't have half of the contents with it. Basically, it was the album and one of the posters and the postcard, and I think they wanted £250 for that. Lots of money into it. But yeah, I enjoy them for what they are. John and Yoko experimenting, John taking the mickey in some ways, and if you look at them that way, they are okay. They're never going to be on your turntable like day in, day out, are they? They are an acquired taste, I will admit that, they are an acquired taste. But then again, I know people that will go out and buy records, and they don't go out and buy them to play them, they go out and buy them just to put in the collection for completeness sake. Which in one way, I suppose I have done that to a certain extent, but I will occasionally play them. The only one that I haven't played, I've got I've got 5 copies of the White Album, of the Wedding Album. I don't know why I keep calling it the White Album, it's the Wedding Album. And the only one that I haven't played is this one because it's still sealed. And this is identical to that other one because this is on white vinyl. I think it's on white vinyl. Yeah, white vinyl. So that was because I didn't really ever want to open it. So yeah, it's entirely up to you whether you buy them or not. I've tried to give you a most honest view as I can, which is odd when I've hardly ever played them, to be fair, but like, you know, they are what they are. It's like some people think Revolution 9 on the White Album is a load of crap. And if you think that, you know. I don't particularly like Revolution 9. Other people think it's one of the most experimental pieces of music that the Beatles ever made. See what I'm saying? It's up to you yourself. I don't mind them. I honestly don't mind them. I love having them in my collection. I'm glad they're in my collection. I'm not forcing you to go out and buy them. Obviously, if you're on a budget, you're going to go for the reissues if you're interested. I think you can actually stream some songs off some of them. When I say songs, I know you could stream some of Life with the Lions a few months ago on Spotify, I think it was. But it's up to you. £20 or £30 for reissue. Is it worth a punt? Just so you can see what the Zapple label looks like on one of them. And I think, if I remember rightly, this reissue of Two Virgins, I think there was a limited edition of this that was actually on white vinyl as well, I think. And that is quite hard to get, you know. So I can't even answer my own question, what I said at the beginning of this. Do you need them in your record collection? You probably don't out there, but to me they are essential because they're part of the Beatles' history, part of John Lennon's recording career, part of his life with Yoko, the breakup of the Beatles and everything like that. Certain things, you know, like the Wedding Album has got lots and lots of bits in it. The only thing it hasn't really got is any music. Life with the Lines is on Zapple instead of Apple. Two Virgins is Two Virgins, one of the most controversial albums ever released in the UK at the time, I think, basically because of the cover. So that's going to be it. So once again, thank you to everybody that is watching these videos. If you've got to end this one, you do need a thumbs up. I'm sorry it's been a bit long, but I thought it's about time we tried to do a bit of justice to these. I will never ever make people like these albums. I know that. And to be fair, they're not my favourite albums in the world, but they have got the place, if that makes sense. So thanks to everybody that is subscribing to my channel, leaving me likes and leaving me comments. If you've just come across this channel and you think, oh yeah, Beatle Dave, he's okay, just leave me a thumbs up. That helps with YouTube to promote the videos to a wider audience. If you want to leave me a comment, please do. I'm sure there'll be some very, very interesting comments on these. And if you're not subscribed, just think about subscribing. It is free, doesn't cost a penny, and again, it helps YouTube promote the channel a little bit better. And that's going to be it. So that's to everybody out there that's watched the video, and a big thank you to everybody that is subscribed as well and supporting the channel. Remember, you are the beat of Beatle Dave. I love you all. Be nice to one another, and that's going to be it. So I'm out of here. I'll see you soon. Love and peace to you all. Bye.